So, just 2 days before the August 1 deadline, US President Donald Trump has decided to impose a 25% tariff on the Indian exports, along with an additional penalty which has been unspecified. The figure is in line with the 26% tariff that was earlier announced on Liberation Day, that is April 2nd, 2025. Now, what could be the effect of this 25% tariff hike that President Trump has imposed on India? Posting on Truth Social, Donald Trump referred to India as a friend of the United States, but said it would still be subject to the tariffs and the penalties due to its continued purchases of Russian oil and military hardware. And he also repeated his claim that India imposes some of the highest tariffs in the world. Now, a 25% tariff could have a potential impact of $30 billion on the India's gross domestic product, or GDP, which would amount to about 0.7% of the $4.3 trillion GDP that India is likely to have by the end of calendar year 2025. These are calculations from the International Monetary Fund, or IMF. However, if the tariff rate continues or is not removed, then the impact not only will be in absolute terms, but India may lose its advantage to countries such as Vietnam, Indonesia, even Bangladesh and Sri Lanka. When Donald Trump had initially imposed the tariffs, our forecast of GDP expansion had been reduced as per our worksheets to 6.2% for financial year 2025-26, presuming a tepid rise in exports and a delay in private capex. The tariff now proposed by the United States is higher than what most economists had been anticipating, and is therefore likely to pose a headwind to India's GDP growth. Now, friends, the sum and substance is this. Let me come to the point. This whole thing is got a short-term ramification, and a medium term will be something different. Short term, yes, there could be an impact on the markets, which will not, where many think it could be just a few minutes of reaction and then it will start towing up. Well, that's okay, because some people then they book profits and then it comes back up, and all right. But the short-term impact will be, I think, larger than most people anticipate, because these tariffs are not going away in a hurry. It may take some time. There will be process of negotiation once again, and quick negotiation, because August 1, the tariffs are here to stay. So you can expect movements quite large both ways. And if you're caught on the wrong side, then you could be in trouble. If you recollect, in my videos, when I had given my outlook for the markets for this week, I had clearly mentioned that you may see some spells of downward spiral or weakness or fall this week, and we are seeing that exactly. In fact, not only in the Indian markets, if you notice, even in the American markets, post 2:30 p.m., commencement time of the press conference of Jeremy Powell, you saw the markets suddenly stop going down. So there were lots of factors. We had the Fed decision that came out, and the Fed decision said that interest rates would remain where they are as of now, but was not a very happy scenario, because there's a lot of pressure on the Fed to reduce the interest rates, and that's not happening as of now. The reason the markets started falling, and all this I had foreseen much before. That's why in my weekend forecast, I had mentioned that markets this week will see many periods of downfall. I'll tell you the reason. The US Federal Reserve's Open Market Committee, or FOMC as it is popularly called, saw its first double descent since 1993. While the FOMC decided to keep interest rates unchanged at 4.25 to 4.5% in the July 29 to 30 meeting, two members were of the opinion that the rate should be trimmed by 25 basis points. The two Federal Reserve officials, Vice Chair for Supervision Michelle Bowman and Governor Christopher Waller, voted for a rate cut, while 9 other members, including Federal Reserve Chair Jay Powell, voted to keep the key lending rate steady and stable as of now. This marks the first time that 2 of the 7 Federal Reserve governors have dissented from the majority decision in over 3 decades. Experts were, of course, expecting the governors to dissent even ahead of the FOMC meeting, but both of them dissenting at the same time, that was a little unexpected, so you saw the knee-jerk reaction. So coming back to the tariff impact on the Indian markets, yes, the short term will be there, but over a period of time you will see there is a lot of, this is what I explained, and I talked with Tuhin Pandey of SEBI, and this is what we are trying to educate. People are not ready to learn. I explained also that there's a process of negotiation that is going on, and it is not only between the United States and India. People are not understanding that there is another piece of the puzzle, that is Russia. I clearly explained in my videos. I wish more people could watch. That's why I request you to please like, subscribe, and please forward or post my videos on other WhatsApp groups so people learn all this. And my videos are not too long. I think I'm pretty crisp and to the point. I've explained that Russia has entered in a big way because President Trump is not happy with Putin as of now. He feels that he's not doing enough to bring the war to an end, Putin. And there's a pressure trying to be exerted on all quarters. So I mentioned that this piece of the puzzle will expand to bring in other countries, and they had brought in BRICS nations, and a special penalty on the BRICS for trying to going against the United States, and a reserve currency other than the US dollar. And now the bigger problem is that there's a pressure that is trying to be exerted on Russia to try and come to terms with the war with Ukraine. And this also serves as one of the techniques to exert pressure on Russia. So this is another piece of the puzzle. I believe that everything will come to, it's going to be a very interesting next 5 months. That's why in time and again I had mentioned in my videos that the next 5 months will have more action than you can anticipate. There will be movements in extremes, sharp falls and sharp down rises as well. Both, you'll see both. One way falls, one way rises also. And yes, we have our timelines and predictions ready. If you'd like to know more, do WhatsApp us on 982-086-1044, and do join our Premium Plus, which gives you 10 to 12 days predictions in advance and good multi-baggers. Look forward to hearing from you. Short term, yes, there will be more than a knee-jerk reaction, because this has a major impact. You may say all this, that India is a domestic, a closed economy, not so much export oriented, so the impact will be less. But even in being otherwise also, you see so much of pharma exports, steel, aluminium, copper, software, everything will have some dimension and some impact or the other. So it's not that India will be immune from this 25% tariff that Donald Trump has slapped on India. There will be a process of, that's why the penalty is still open, right? That's why they have not disclosed it. That's open to negotiation, right? How will this finally span out? We'll let you know. Stay tuned. God bless. Take care. Bye.